Are we live right now? Let me take a look at it. Yeah, seems like we are live. Um, it seems like I can hear my sound. Let me turn that thing off. Welcome, everyone. Today I'll be working on something that we call CSS nesting. So as you can see, my CSS is getting really, really big at this point. We need to reduce some of the things, some of the clutter. So we are trying to clean up some of the codes. As you can see, we are keep repeating the same CSS class everywhere. So what we are trying to do, nest some of these elements inside the CSS so that it doesn't look all that clumsy or all that cluttered. One thing that we did over here, as you can see, I was working on it. So you can see that we actually styled and nested some of those elements within the widget that we are using on this design. As you can see, we have red boxes on all the widgets that we used. This is to indicate, or this is to show you that how I am using one CSS class and nesting some of the elements to modify the content inside it. Now we are dividing the widgets in two different parts. First thing is the header section. If I inspect the element, most probably that'll be a lot more clearer. So let's take a look at it. As you can see, we have the widgets class over here, and we have a header section and also the inner content within that widget section. So we would be modifying these and these with this nested CSS. This way it wouldn't look all that cluttered, and we would be solely focusing on single CSS class, not repeating like this over here. I'll be fixing them as well at some point. But for the time being, our primary focus for today will be fixing all these widgets that we have on our front page. One quick update that I want to share with you guys, the site is live with the new design that I'm working on, so which you can access from here. And you can see that some of the contents has already been populated using the new design that I'm working on the computer. There are quite a few problems that I figured over the last couple of days that I was working. I couldn't stream, but I figured some of the problem. I would be definitely working on those. Some of the section doesn't have that much content like the books, musics. These sections are fairly empty. I didn't get chance to add some of the contents over here that I would really want to wrap up as fast as I can. But before we do that, I would have to make sure the layout works as intended and optimize CSS a bit more so that it doesn't look all that cluttered. One quick example that I can share with you guys um, from here, you can see, okay, so the categories section or the widget that you were looking at over here, let me share the screen over here. So this is the home categories CSS class that you were looking at. So I organized, nested some of the elements like the custom logo or font icon that we are using over here, which is different for every single widget. As you can see, there's a coffee mug over here. There's a pen and paper over here for thoughts section, snippets, products. Every one of them has their own icon. That is something we are doing with these. But remember, we are using something called like, let me see, simple line icon web font, which is quite popular at this point. They do not have a whole bunch of icons, but I think it's a small CSS library, so I prefer to use that one over Font Awesome or some other icon fonts. In any case, the whole idea is to organize the widgets a bit more. And so take a look at this over here. The lifestyle section has quite a bunch of CSS declarations for different elements, and as you can see, I'm keep repeating the home lifestyle CSS selector over here. So this is something we'll be fixing. Bear in mind though, this is a very old CSS, at least 2 3 years old CSS that I'm working on right now, because this CMS that I'm using on my website is a very custom made, and it was introduced a couple of years back at a very primary level. It wasn't something like very functional, but it still works. Even though we do have quite a few mess on our side. I do have two sections on my side primarily. One is catalog section where we are listing bunch of websites or blogs that I really like that I wanted to share with you guys through my website. That's one thing. It's gonna be huge listing. If you let me see if I can show it to you guys. Okay, I think I would have to log in. So on catalog section, I already listed well over 2,500 blog site that I really visited. I really liked so much that I thought I'm gonna share with you guys, and also I visited them in the past to like some of their contents. So that's one big thing of this site. Almost 2,500 records are already there on my database. And for blog section, which is the primary content of this site you are looking at, I'm fixing quite a few things. Case in point, you can think of this section or the figure section where we are adding images for any particular blog post has figure element added on these new changes that I made, that would have a figure caption as well. This way it'll be a separate block, would look much nicer as you can see. I'm gonna modify the video section a bit more so that we can have a little bit of border radius, just like the images has a little curve at the end and at the bottom as well. So the video gonna have that one as well. Another thing that I was working on is quotation. So think of about this book where I quoted some of the section from that book. I didn't get the chance to style them, so this is another thing that I would have to style, and that's where this CSS is going to be really handy that I'm working on, this nesting thing that I was talking about. Also, another thing that I did, if you look at the snippet section, let me show you guys this. This pre and code block has been modified a bit so that the code becomes much more readable. In the past, our font color was a little grayish and it was a little hard to understand. Now, the problem that I came across is that if I do have a very big line, one single line that's very long, it tend to overlap the middle section that we have, or the content blog post section that we have. On the right hand side, we have a widget that I'm going to modify. On the left hand side, we have the blog post metadata. So it was overlapping. So I had to fix that, and I was working last night to fix them. By the way, it's raining outside, so most probably you guys can hear my window is open. So most probably you guys can hear the sound. It's raining over here in New York City. Okay. Let me show you guys another thing. Let's go to the snippets. Let me see if I can find something very. Okay, here is it. Here is an example. So you see the filter, add filter, it's very long, and instead of breaking them down, which basically destroys the formatting of the snippet, I was thinking of adding in a scroll bar so that at least you guys can scroll and can take a look at the entire line rather than breaking down the function name over here and then make it a little shorter, which will be like, multiple lines. That wouldn't look nice. But in any case, there will be quite a few changes over here as well. But for the time being, as you can see, I added a little bit of padding on the left hand side. That's 2 3 pixel padding on the left. Have a grayish background to separate the content from the text and the snippet section. Similar changes going to be there for block code as well. Excuse me. So for today, I will be mostly prioritizing and focusing on fixing these widgets in a way so that we can have a little less code and a little less clutter-free code, CSS declarations or CSS classes over here. which I'm looking forward to. It's getting really, really big, especially the front page of my site is kind of a little messy. I'm not going to lie, but we will try to fix it as much as we can. Let's see how far we can go. So stay tuned, take a look at it, what I'm doing, and most probably if you guys are new to CSS, most probably you can learn things or two. And as I move along, I will try to Google something if I need to. If I get stuck, that's how the learning process works in web development. There is nothing you cannot say it for sure. You know it all. There are a lot of new things being introduced, and we can learn from there. One quick thing that I want to share with you guys. So if you go to the help section, I created a you know collapsible block section. This is not um, any JS being used. It's just like entirely pure HTML. You can see details and summary tag is being used. These are something new to me. I did not pay attention to these things, but this is actually really helpful. Things like these, sometimes you need to just Google and try to find something new and try to implement that feature on your site to make it a little bit more advanced as far as the features are concerned. I'm going to primarily focus on the widgets today and also fix the header section and also the footer section. I think I got quite a bit of mess on the footer section as well. Let me show you guys. So this is the footer section over here. I'm going to try to minimize. I'm gonna minimize this section as much as I can. See, here is the problem. Footer rights and footer p tag. Just nest this thing so that we don't have to do footer rights, and then p tag again. Same goes for footer menu. You will see how I make the changes. In fact, you know what? I can actually work on the footer menu section right now so that you guys can take a look at it. So let's get it started. Stay tuned. Did you guys notice how everything went inside a single CSS selector class? This way you can minimize repeating the CSS class over and over again. Um, yeah, let's see how far we can go. I think we just need to fix this one as well. And there are quite a few options actually. This is the CSS classes that I used at the backend level or administrative interface. Like this is the interface that's being CSS classes are being used there. I'm gonna work on that one as well at some point. But for the time being, I'm going to be focusing on at the front end level, and then afterwards, once it's fine at the front end level or optimized a bit, and then we can focus on the back end level. All right, stay tuned. I'll be working on the lifestyle section right now, so if you are watching or will be watching at some point, if you ever come across this video, I'll be working on the lifestyle section and change them a bit and make it look like the way it is on our production site. All right. Just wanted to point out one important thing over here. As you can see, I'm using UL or unordered list item element over here. So newly introduced, or it has been introduced for quite some time, but it did not catch through my radar. So you want to use the menu element, which seems to be the alternative to UL. As you can see over here, it clearly says no different than UL element. It represents an unordered list of items which are represented by LI elements. So we already have a bunch of LI elements over here. So we will replace this portion with menu, and we will also nest them inside. Let's see if I can do that one. Nest them inside the nav element if possible. Let's see how it works. Just wanted to clarify something over here. So as you can see, we were working with the head main navigation. That's our CSS class selector. And from there, we worked on the button element over here and the nav element over here. Okay. Now bear in mind though, the button element I am using on button element, I'm using an ID. This is because we are using JavaScript to select this element so that somebody clicks on it. Generally, this nav item would be hidden. As you can see over here, it shows display none. But if someone clicks on the button, it would be hidden. It is because I was trying to show you guys over here on JavaScript. So let's take a look at main nav. My bad, that's supposed to be main menu. As you can see over here, I'm using JavaScript to generally this nav element is hidden. However, once somebody clicks on it, it changes its CSS attribute from display none to display block. So it becomes visible. That's where you get this toggle effect. Okay. So the IDs are using for JavaScript purpose. It has nothing to do with the style. And over here, the menu item or the element rather, we are using over here to style them. So reducing the number of CSS classes and we're using certain semantics over here for accessibility purpose, but that's different. In any case, we are reducing the number of CSS class, and since because of the parent element, we are styling them, rest of the child element can be styled inside using the element type. Okay, so let's continue our work and see how far we can go today. At this point, I'm thinking if there is any way I can reduce the number of lines of CSS for columns. Seems like every single row has roughly 3 columns, but there are exceptions to that one, like this one has 2 columns, and which will remain 2 columns. I'm trying to see if there is a way to remove these custom classes because it seems like every single row has all these columns as you can see over here. Okay, AA, AB, because that was coming from previous naming pattern. Um, should not be all that difficult since there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 row. Uh, we can definitely reduce that one. Let's see. I'm gonna brainstorm a little bit more. Hopefully that will be useful. Let's see what we can do. All right, seems like we figured a way to organize them a bit more. All we have to do is name some of this column, then having AA or AB generic terms. We used the name of the widgets or based on the widgets and the contents that particular column is holding. Based on that one, we renamed them all of them and basically added them within the home column. Yes, you can do that and you can nest them this way. All the columns remains within a single CSS class nested. So this way you can see it's a lot more organized right now. We have all the rows first thing. Second thing, we have all the columns inside one single class. So this way we can get rid of some of the redundancies at some point. Also, what we would do, since these are the name of the widgets, what we would do actually rename them as well so that we can actually shove them in inside of widgets that we had it over here. Let me see, it's over here. So, um, which may or may not be necessary, but still I will have that in my mind. Let's see what we can do. What I'm planning over here is that we can have three different box over here to advertise or to promote certain products, which I have the option at the back end level so that somebody who wants to buy that slot, advertising slot, he or she should be able to buy it. And then, excuse me, we can place a box with a very specific size of advertising image over here that's supposed to be not more than 3 columns. So let's style this first. So here is a little bit of calculation that I had to do. Since we do have flex wrap over here, that means we want all the three list items over here to be in one row. If that is the case, since you already defined 10 pixel to be in between these three elements, because we want some spacing, of course, we do not want them to be next to each other without any space, because we want to have a little bit of a border and the height going to be a little bit more. So that 10 pixel has to be taken into consideration. Now what we can do, so if the total row is 100%, and if we take out, let's say over here, 2%, let me change it over here actually. Let's see. Why can that move? Okay, let's say 2%. I'm sorry, not 20, 2%. Let's increase that a little bit more. 3, 4. Um, that seems like reasonable. So 4% over here and 4% over here, that's like 8% is gone. And you ended up having 92% left over. So let me see over here. Let's put it 5%. See, once I do 6% over here, the third element goes down. Do you know why? It's very simple, but it's a funny calculation. But let me show you. So if it is 6%, that means we have 6% of space over here after the first element. And after the second element, there will be another 6%. That's 12% gone. If 12% is gone and each of this element is 30%, that's 90 and 12, 102%. That's not right. So we have to make it 5%. So that means out of the 100% of this row, 5% over here and 5% over there, that's 10% of the total width. And then you can assign 30%, 30%, and 30%. That's 90%. And in between, there was 5% and 5%. That's 10%. So 98 plus 10, that's 100%. That's basically the calculation behind it. So you can see over here, if I increase it a little bit more, just by 1%, it's just not going to work. Another important thing to remember is that a flex wrap, I used wrap. That means the element's supposed to be within this first row. It has to be this way. But if I remove the wrap, then it's okay because they're making the necessary adjustments, or the browser is making the necessary adjustments to fit it in. In that case, it does not remain 30% anymore. But we want it to be wrapped. Why? Because we want to have this precise calculation and we do not want to just simply put the number that doesn't carry any value. So we want to make it 5%. That's going to be, where is it? Add block over here. That's not going to be 10 pixel, but it has to be 10%. I'm sorry, that's supposed to be 5% since this gap in between these elements is supposed to be 5% each. So that's 5% twice, 10%. And each item, the LI item, 30% each. That should do the math, okay? So let's do one more thing. We can most probably define height as well. So let's say, let's do it over here actually. Excuse me. Let's say if we want to put height 100%, does it make any difference? No. Okay. What can we do? Let's see. If we do over here, let's refresh the page. Does it make any difference? No, it doesn't. One of the reason could be that home block, the div element itself, and the height of this element is not 100%, or the space at the bottom is just empty. So if we do put 100% over here, see, you have a lot more space right now. Now we can push the elements inside to be Still doesn't work. Okay, so how about if we do remove the wrap? Let's see if that helps. No, it doesn't. Mm, okay, let's see. So let's say we're gonna have some kind of image over here. Let's say we can add an image over here, imgsrc. Let's use the same image over here. Okay, just for testing actually. And we want to make sure the similar image, because end of the day we're gonna place three different advertisement over here. So three of them gonna be an image with a link to a third-party link or advertiser's link. Sorry, going back to individual post. So let's refresh this page. Now we have three different images, but they're still restricted to a certain height. It's not going any more down. So let's enforce the height. Let's see if we can do that. Yeah, that's possible. So the problem was the li item that we had, it itself, since it's an inline element, it's not going to go down anymore because you do not have any content to begin with. Now, as we are injecting image, we are pushing the li item to go a little more downward because this image is pushing it downward so that it becomes the same height like this one. Now, let's take a look at the height of this thing. It's 90 pixels. So for images, instead of 130 pixel, we can push it 90 pixel. This way, it's all going to be the same. So let's define it over here. Height 90. Let's see if that helps. Even though I wanted to have 120 pixel over here, because if it have square image 125 by 125 pixel, that would have been nicer, to be honest. But if that doesn't work, most probably no, that wouldn't work. So we can enforce this thing. Even if it doesn't work, we can enforce it over here like this. So and img height to be exact 90 pixel. Let's see, that should work. Yeah, that worked. So what we can do now, get rid of this border that we have this way. We wouldn't have to deal with. Now refresh the page. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, it aligned with the height of this advertisement that's going to be over here, and three different advertisement that's mostly going to be like, custom ad provided by the users or any sponsor content, whatever it is, but it's going to be over here. Now, I did not have any option as of now to put this from the backend. Let me show you the backend that I have or that I built so far. So this is the backend, and you can see we have options to place advertisement or advertising code over here from Google or any other provider that you want to use. You can copy paste the JavaScript over here, three different places, and I already mentioned the pixel size of those advertisements, so you can place the codes over here, or I can place the codes over here for that matter. And over here you can see there is a banner code. It clearly shows 728 by 90 pixel, which is basically the exact size of the advertisement of this place that we're going to have on this place. 728. So we have a little bit of extra space. It's because if you hover over the item, you can see there was an additional space over here that we had to calculate, because if you do put 728, see what happens. It becomes 728, but then you would have this image just becoming a lot bigger. Actually, that is the right thing to do. Let's see if we can change that one. We have 768 over here. Let's do 728. Then we can refresh the page. Now we have 728 by 90 pixel for banner advertisement. This is very interesting that if you go to any Google banner ad, you will see they have different kind of advertising banner banner advertisement size. Let me see. Okay, it doesn't show it over here. Ad sizes. Okay, so this is the one that we were talking about. So Google allows you to place different kinds of ads on your page or on your web page. I am just making this space in advance so that we can, rather than manually putting the code over here, we can have the advertising code at the back end of our site on database, and that'll be pulled by the script from here. Um, that is going to be stored on our databases settings section, as you can see over here. Over here, banner large. This is where the code going to be, and we can use or pull this data from our page class that we have. Since it's a front page, this advertisement going to be at the home page. So we have to take a look at the home page over here. So this is okay. So from here, you can see we have the option. We're already pulling those advertising code ad banner from our database to begin with. So this will be a whole lot easier to place them. So there's going to be another advertisement over here, and that's going to be 300 by 250 pixel. And there is going to be another ad over here that's going to be 160 by 600 pixel, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, this is the one. It's called Wide Skyscraper. So this advertisement is basically a vertical ad. And if you look at my home page that we have right now, we already have this space. That's myname.dev. If you go there, you should see a vertical space over here. That's where the Google ad going to be on the, this is the size vertical skyscraper. Yeah. And there's going to be another one over here and another one over here. Okay. So these are I think these are some of the most popular size of the ads, which you can see on so many different sites. And we are going to put over here that we were working on a few minutes back, three different ad provided by the user or any other sponsor. And what was the size? 116 by 90. Okay, that still works. We can maybe increase a little bit more spacing in between. This way we can have pretty much like in a rectangle size or square size ad. Let me see if we can increase the size a little bit more. I think we might have to. Okay, so 6%. If it goes 6%, then we would have to reduce the size of that one as well. So let's see. Instead of 30%, so go 29. Okay, sounds good. 109 by 90. We still gotta go down. So 27%. Let's see if we can increase a little bit more over here. Let me see. So the idea is making a square space over here, very square image over here for advertisement, simple idea. Now, as you can see, the red line over here, just like any other widgets that we have in between the line, there's a line in between these two different widgets, right? So we're gonna have some space over here and there's some space over here. Similar way, excuse me. So we're gonna have a little bit more space over here right next to on the left hand side of this red line. So there will be space over here and a space over here. And we could have this vertical line in between these two elements. I think this way we can place pretty much like in a square, but we just have to play around with the size or the space in between these advertising codes or advertising snippets that we're going to place over here. But apart from that, I think we are pretty much all set. We don't have to worry too much about it because the image size is going to be the same regardless, and all we have to do is just like make the backend in a way so that we can place code over here, and that should be pulling, our script should be pulling. Bear in mind though, since these advertisements are on for a very specific page, it's going to be on a home page, and also if you click on any article, we're going to place those ads over here as well, because on any given websites, your post would be the, or your article would be the only page that people would be visiting for the most of the part. If they're coming for content, that would be the part where basically they'll be visiting. Now, on my live sites, if you click on certain article, which I wrote earlier, you can see we have a little bit extra space over here, white space over here, something that we can use. But I'm definitely going to move this latest section from here because I don't think that should be over here. So this way, people might have the option to click and then move away from the actual article that you wrote. You want users to scroll down all the way bottom so that they go over the content first. And then you place the links at the bottom so that they have to scroll down if they want to navigate away to different direction or different pages. So, but I just placed it over here because it looks ugly if you do not have any content over here. Another quick thing is that let me show you real quick. So if I logged in to the CMS that I built, you will see this edit link automatically. I mean, definitely you won't see because you would be visiting the site as a visitor. And since I would be logged in as an administrator, I should be able to click on the content link over here and straight take it will take me straight to the editing window so that I can edit the content over here just because I'm logged into the system. It has to do something with PHP session and some other things, which is a lot bit more complicated than today's discussion or today's focus point. We were trying to do some CSS nesting this way. We can reduce the number of CSS classes declared. As you can see, my CSS is pretty big right now. It's almost like 1400 lines, so we would have to figure out a way to reduce this number of lines, which is definitely possible, but you gotta spend a lot of time thinking about back and forth. As you could see that at the very beginning of the stream, you saw that how I organized the columns and the rows. It wasn't that difficult because the nesting idea within CSS is fairly new to me. Um, Even though I know on from a YouTube channel there were some other YouTuber who are making these kind of videos for quite some time. One thing that I noticed though, this first element or first nesting element remains white. I'm not quite sure if that has something to do with the visual editor or Microsoft Visual Studio Editor or not, but it's always the first item, nesting item or nested item that has white color. Why? I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you, but it works regardless. That's all it does matter to me because um, it might have something to do with the settings of Visual Studio. Um, I'm not quite sure, but I saw the same thing on another developer who was working or streaming the other day. So I think it's pretty normal at this point. But apart from that one, rest of the classes you see, they all are in yellow color. And also there, the curly braces has distinct identification. This way you can understand that this is for this particular class and that's for separate classes. So this is very easy to understand. Same thing over here. The first one or first selector remains white. Not sure why, but that's the way how it is, I guess. All right, okay, so we already worked on the widget section, something you may have noticed, or if you're looking at the stream from the very beginning, you may have noticed. But apart from that, I think we're done with it. But bear in mind, there is another different kind of widgets that we have on the at the backend level. These are also widgets that I built. These are custom made widgets for dashboard, highly inspired by WordPress. Same thing going on at the back end of my production side. Okay, I'm not logged in there, but it shows the number of posts that has been published and number of catalog item or sites that has been listed on my um, database. Now it's kind of in mess because I recently changed the layout of this because the new site that or the new design that I was working on, most probably if you guys look at the previous streams, you will see that I was working on this new design. I was so happy about the whole overall changes that I made, so I couldn't wait for catalog item to be fixed first because I thought I'm just gonna put it on the live site because I do not have that much data on my local database, but on production side, we have 2,500 site listed over here. So let's say, le- let me give you a quick example. Let's say you click on academics, you will see a bunch of site listed, and we already have the pagination. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you are looking at 10 different um, site information on the first page, you can multiply that with 3. It's going to be roughly 30 or 25, something like this. So let me go over here. Okay, so it's going to be 10 and 10, 20, 22. The total 22 site has been listed under academic. If you go to animal, there will be a lot more, I believe. Yeah, 4. But I think as the lifestyle is the highest number, 18 pages. So every one of them actually a site. This is the owner of the site. I mean, of course, it's going to be fixed. These are images that's coming from her Gravatar account, something that WordPress also uses. So we do not have any control over these images. It gets automatically pulled by our system or my system over here. So if you take a look at the catalog class over here, notice we have view on our slug, right? We have view on our slug. So if you look at the view function over here, you can see we are pulling the Gravatar data from Gravatar site, gravatar.com, I guess, from their site. So we barely have any control over the images that the users or the site owner is placing on a gravatar.com account. Now, if you look at over here, we are using site email to pull that Gravatar from the Gravatar system. I think we have, let me take a look at it real quick. So site publish, let's go to the site class over here, site module rather, get publish. Strange. Let me see. Is that on? Okay. Publish. So this is the function that's basically pulling the data, this data that you were looking at on my production side, pulling the data from the database from IO sites table, which I have shown a couple of minutes back. This is the IO sites table that I had to create, and it will pull the data from there. In any case, let's get back to the work that we were trying to wrap up first. So we have this section sorted out. Let's take a look at this section. Let's fix this section. I think this section looks pretty horrible at this point. So stay tuned, okay? I'll be working on this.